Welcome back. New tonight, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office published some social media posts today featuring 911 calls alleging crimes near a homeless encampment and an arrest that followed. 6 News' Brent Weber talked with Sheriff Aaron Hansen to learn more about the purpose behind the posts.
911, do you need police, fire, or medical?
Law enforcement cannot solve the homeless crisis alone.
The message is loud and clear on the Douglas County Sheriff's social media pages. Aaron Hansen wants everyone to listen.
My son fell off his bike and the beast stole his bike. And it's one of the same guys that tried to get him underneath this bridge over here about a month ago that was made the sheriff went down there and spoke to me.
When a homeless man is stealing bikes from kids in our neighborhoods, that's unacceptable, and law enforcement has to step up and be that safety net. But it's also law enforcement's obligation to be honest about the scope of the challenge.
So the social media push, video posts of a now cleared encampment, the harrowing 911 call, and the ensuing sting arrest of the thief is intended for everyone, county, city, and beyond.
He's taking the bike.
We're the ones boots on the ground seeing it. We need to communicate it to policy levels on the state and federal level to find long-term solutions.
This lot here at the corner of 25th and Jones is an example of what Hansen and the Sheriff's Department have tried to do. They cleared out a homeless encampment. They had property owners cut down high grass and trees.
Earlier this year, following a point-in-time assessment that showed a 200% increase in Omaha's unsheltered population, the City of Omaha's new Homeless Services Coordinator told our Bella Caracta, national best practices tell us that we need to stop clearing encampments. People should be able to go to a home of their own from an unsheltered situation.
A shelter is not a behavioral health facility.
Looking at the county as a whole, Hansen calls for a major infrastructure commitment.
I've talked to the sheriff of Lancaster County. They try to get their mentally ill and challenged individuals into the Lincoln Regional Center, but it's full of people from all across the state. And so I think Omaha needs its own state-run behavioral health infrastructure for those very chronic cases, something that's safe and secure, both for the individuals that are navigating behavioral health crises, but also the staff who work in it.
On your side in Douglas County, Brent Weber, 6 News.
Since the sheriff's social media posts went online this afternoon, 6 News was only able to get Sheriff Hansen's remarks on why he made the post. 6 News frequently presents stories about the Metro's homeless crisis and have shared the thoughts of many experts. You can find those reports on our website, WOWT.com.